Good afternoon. Welcome to the tea table. I am so happy you have joined me today. And we are going to just have a relaxing pre-summer, because summer doesn't really come until June 21st, the summer solstice. Sometimes it's June 20th. But we're going to have a relaxing inside tea party today, which would be something that would have happened maybe even 100 years ago. Because I'm going to show you some wonderful art that really shows what women were dressing like 100 years ago, even a little longer. And life was, in those days, for those who could afford it, was revolving around the social events were often a tea, a formal tea, a morning tea, an afternoon tea, a high tea, which is a tea that has so many wonderful things, more food than at a lighter tea. So, if you haven't gotten your tea yet, please, I will be here waiting. You could pause, get your tea, and come back, because I want us to have tea together. I am going to show you a very special cup, and I don't know if I've ever used this on the tea table, but it reminds me of the Italian summer romantic scenes that many of the German poets, the Italian poets, the English poets, the romantics used. And it's in nature, a man and woman, and often having tea. Now I have a wonderful rose on my table. I'm going to move the rose for a moment over here and take my cup and well, let me show you first what I have on my little tea tray. And it's very simple but elegant. I think whenever you can have a silver tea service, it's very elegant, isn't it? And you can polish that up and make it so beautiful. This is a silver tray. It's very simple. And I have, of course, my creamer and my sugar. And I have the little pot, which is often used for hot water or maybe another kind of tea, if it's strictly a tea party, or perhaps coffee, if you are going to serve both at an afternoon event. And then I put a beautiful little napkin, I think so nice, on my cart. And I like the way the napkin sits. I'll show you, it just sits underneath the sugar bowl. And I think that's very nice. And it's amazing what one can fit on a tea tray. So I am going to take my cup now, and we're going to pour out. And you always leave your saucer with your cup. I have noticed some people, when tea is being poured around the second time, they'll take their cup off and extend it toward the person pouring tea. That is not proper etiquette. Proper etiquette is always leave your cup on the saucer. And there's a practical reason for that, so that if it spills, it's not going to spill on you or someone else. That's what the saucer is for. And because a hot drink can be dangerous. And I know people that have been quite burned. If it gets on your lap and sticks on your clothes, hot drink is dangerous. That is why we have saucers. Isn't that wonderful? Okay. Oh, that is so delicious. And today on the tea table, I am serving a special tea. given to me by a dear friend. It was a gift given from my dear friend Robin, and it's called British Breakfast. And it comes in little round bags made in England. Very nice and very brisk. I really like this tea. Whenever it says English breakfast, British breakfast, it will be quite strong, black, and brisk without other flavors. I really enjoy pure black tea. I also enjoy Earl Grey, and I enjoy other tea blends, but this is very simple, and for today, I like it. It's elegant. Oh, that's delicious. I have been with you so many times outside recently. Our weather is mild today, not overly sunny, but I just felt like being inside today. And here is a lovely bouquet of old Victorian, kind of soft, peachy pink roses with a fabulous, in the very center, one of my very favorite flowers, the peony. And it's magenta for this year of 2023. And a dear friend brought these to me last Sunday. Annalisa, from her garden. She is growing. She said her roses are just going wild this year. My roses, we just transplanted them, and so from pots to ground, and they are actually doing very well. My sons came and did that, and they're beginning to bloom. So next week, I'm going to try to bring you some roses from my garden. But I thought these lovely, I love this creamy touch of pink Victorian rose. You know, the old roses have a wonderful scent. And if you know someone that has old roses, that means the plant is very, maybe even 100 years old. You can get a start, and that's getting a snip, and you get some special food. You put it in a jar in your kitchen in water, and it will root food, and then plant it. And I received some fabulous hydrangeas that way years ago, and I still have them. And so some of the older roses, they have a scent that the new ones don't. Isn't that interesting? Well, I'm wearing an interesting, I have a headband and a hat, and it just felt like it went. And in order to keep my hat on, I am using a very long hat pin. I can't show you, it's in the back. But I thought when I put that in my hat, wow, this could be dangerous. It's that long with an end, and then you gently put it in the hat through the hair and then come out the other way. And this is how all the ladies would wear their hats for years. You will see in antique stores or thrift stores sometimes hat pins. And they're hard to find now. I think people are collecting them because they're rather obsolete. So if you see one, it really does hold the hat in place. And then I have some clips with pearls holding my hair. And I'm wearing some pearl and diamond cross earrings today. And I have the pin on again. I love this pin. It is a, I feel it's Louis XIV pin with the pearl in the middle. It's the sun in the gold with the pearl, and I think it's so fun. It's a brooch. I like to wear my brooches sometimes holding things together. Often they're worn on the shoulder. The Queen always had a brooch, and she would communicate through her brooch. Whatever she was celebrating would be often a non-verbal communication. And that is what our clothing is. Our attire, our presentation is a non-verbal communication. we're telling people who we are. That is why people wear a military uniform. They don't have to tell anyone. The police have a uniform, the nurse, the doctor. There are many uniforms that are very obvious. The bus driver, the train conductor. But we all are communicating something, and I think it's worth it while to think about that and know that everything we are saying is being heard by others. And a good smile is a nonverbal communication that everything is all right or will be all right. Today on the Tea Talk, we are listening to the Bach Brandenburg concertos, which are the most uplifting. All of Bach's music is beautiful. They have to be some of the most uplifting pieces of music. They truly are. And he uses the instruments so amazingly. And in the quartets and the string parts, he has a driving bass that really he invented. Bach is given credit by all musicologists as really the beginning of a strong bass line that actually was equal to the treble line dominating the piece. It's that driving force, that marching forth. It gives people energy. The bass is the foundation, just like a house. And my husband plays string bass, and I've grown to love the string bass. We often would present music together, and before I was really engaged to him, well, we had done a lot of folk music, but then I had gone to voice training at the University of Washington, and we were both moving toward classical music and more seriously toward classical. We had always loved it, but performing and writing, and I was asked to perform a song at an Episcopal church in Ballard, Washington, and until that time, I generally had a good friend named Marilyn who would accompany me on violin, and her husband Ken played flute, and we were in our own little group. He played guitar. But when we were married, I thought, let's have the bass. Well, because we didn't have an option. And the bass was the most wonderful accompaniment for a soprano because there's no competition. When you have a violin accompanying you, you're in the same, you're in the treble clef, and you have to make sure the harmonies are not conflicting with your melody or overplaying your voice if you don't have a microphone. Whereas the bass just comes in so strong, so deep, but it never overpowers the soprano voice. So it ended up being really a lovely combination, and we used that a lot for many weddings and variety of things we performed at through the years. And then as our family grew, we had the children playing and singing, and the bass was always there. The problem with the bass, because it is an acoustic wooden real bass, not an electric bass, it is big. It's as big as a bear, and you have to have the right vehicle to haul the bass in. And when we were first married, we had a Mustang, like a 1968 Mustang, kind of a classic. All our kids wish we still had it. But we would drive around Seattle, and my husband's bass was in the back seat, and the neck was hanging out the window. Thank God nothing ever happened to the bass. But that was high risk. That was a high risk. And we used to laugh and say we envy the flute player, because our flute player friends can basically carry their flute in their purse if their purse is big enough, or in a bag. So that is the story of, musical instruments take a lot of dedication. And all the stringed instruments take an extreme amount of dedication. You're constantly tuning them, you're constantly replacing strings, and you have to protect your instrument. They're very fragile. And I told my kids, you never put a violin on a couch. You never put a violin. Put it back in the case or on a high table or on a piano. The best is if you have a baby grand piano, the instruments can sit very safely on top of that. And thank God none of our instruments were ever broken, other than a cello once that we were playing, and it was very cold. It was left in a car, and I don't know how it happened, but it was in our van. But when we brought it in, it had cold and then hot. The entire cello fell apart, and what we realized, it had been glued, and it really hadn't been glued properly. So actually, our homeowner's insurance paid for a new cello for our son. So that was very nice. Very grateful for that. But that's the only time other than the bass, yes, the bass, once we were performing at a fair down south in Vancouver area, and a bunch of bodybuilders were getting on the stage right after us. And my husband had laid the bass down, and they didn't see it, and they came in and smashed the neck on the bass, went over. And we had to rush to a music store, get it repaired. But that is not a good thing to happen to an instrument. So you have to protect them, and a good case is your best bet. Well, I wanted to tell you, I thought I will bring a little bit of art today. I have these pictures that are so fun. And this, it says on it, La Mode Illustrée, and it is from the 1800s. It's French, and it's the girls with their dresses. Aren't they beautiful? And they're going to tea. They're going to a tea party. It's so sweet. Anyway, I'm gonna hold it this way for you. I just think it's lovely. And I think art, we talked about art last time, is so important. I have another one that is a matching one. Well, it is two girls in another format. And I'll have to show you that. It fell over another time. I can't get it right now. But then I thought this was fun. This was something I just kind of hang by my teacups. This is a modern piece, but it's tea. And we can find little corners in our house for our art. Art is so important. And then this is a totally different, and I showed you this. My husband gave me this for my graduation last year from seminary, and it's St. Brendan's Boat, and it's made by the Wild Goose Studio, and it is in Kimserdee, Ireland, and it is from an original design of St. Brendan, who was a 6th century monk who is believed to have taken his boat to America. That's where they say that others came before. He had these people in the boat, and he went around ministering. See, he's got the cross and all the men rowing the boat. Isn't it interesting that the boat has not changed in its design very much? Yes, we've had modifications, but it's still basically just like the Indians' canoe. Isn't that a brilliant? Just taking a log and hollowing it out makes a boat. And I love that. And you know, the log cabin, it's logs put together. And I found out that log cabins actually originally came from Norway because they had so much wood. And someone brought that idea to America. Isn't that interesting? And then we went to the Irish shop. That was on my husband's birthday, we were in Idaho at the wonderful Coeur d'Alene. Oh my goodness, right on the lake, beautiful. The lake is as big as an ocean. It's just gorgeous with trees around and wonderful atmosphere. And they have an Irish shop there. And we went through on our last trip, and my husband got me this, and it is St. Patrick's cross. And you see it's Celtic, but it's really interesting. And I'll read to you what it says. It says, it's from the 7th century, and it is depicting Christ within me, Christ before me, Christ before me, Christ above me. And that's St. Patrick's breastplate. Remember the beautiful poem that he wrote and sang, and all the monks sang? And that is Jesus Christ victorious, and the people around are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And that is what it's depicting, the 4 Gospels, and Jesus Christ triumphant. It's really interesting. It's very different, but it's the same material made at the same studio. And this Wild Goose studio is operated by a monastery in Ireland, and all the money that they get from making these beautiful things, they give to charity. Isn't that beautiful? So buying this, I'm actually contributing to charity. And I love this cross, and I love the Celtic design. It means eternity, unending. And I just am going to put these together in a special place in my home. I haven't quite decided where I want to put them, but I don't really want to put them up in my library because not very many people go there. And I want them to be able to be seen and enjoyed by many. So I'm going to find a place where my, I think in this music room that I'm in now. Sometimes it takes time to find just the right place where we want something to be in our home. Isn't that true? Well, I did bring along, for my special people that love handbags, this is a very fancy handbag. And I think the shape is gorgeous. It's diamonds and pearls, and it's quite good size, and it has a clasp that is a diamond. Isn't that fun? And the clasp opens. And this was something that my husband got me quite a while back. We were on a trip to California, and it was my birthday, and he was getting me a special gift. And I found this in, wow, where were, Pismo Beach, California. I'd never been there in my life. So beautiful. We had been driving up from visiting our children in the South, and we were driving up, and we got to Sacramento, and then we went on to Redding, and we decided we're going to drive west to the coast and drive up the coast. Well, that was a long trip. That was a beautiful trip. There are millions of trees in California. It was all through forests and ravines, and it went on and on and on, and we finally got to beautiful Pismo Beach, stayed there the night, and then this was at a little boutique, and I thought, this is my memory from my California trip. And I thought, today, this goes perfect with what I'm wearing. And I haven't used that purse for a long time, and it's fun when you open a purse and you find some things in it that you forgot about. I found a pair of glasses in there that I love, and a few other little treasures. So that was fun. And I was thinking, for our tea, I don't have a treat today. I'm sorry, but I thought we will just have simple tea today, and we'll have a treat next time, I promise. It's summer, and I've been just trying to eat fruit. And fruit is so nice as a treat, isn't it? But we had the most wonderful little watermelon. It was very small, and it was so sweet. And it was eaten up quickly by everyone. I had a little bit of company here, and whoa, it was gone. I thought everyone said they felt so healthy after having that. That was the dessert, watermelon. Good dessert. I love the magenta pink. Goes with the magenta pink flower. Isn't that bouquet just gorgeous? Isn't that beautiful? Oh my goodness. We're so blessed to have these beautiful flowers this time of year. Oh my goodness. They're divine. And I hope that you are having a good week and enjoying the beginnings of summer. I highly recommend have a tea party. Plan one and invite your friends. And have a nice tray. And a tea party can be so simple. You can have one outside and have just a jar, a mason jar of flowers. So beautiful, carnations, anything, even just greens. The lilies are coming now. And then a nice pot and cups and saucers, cream and sugar and a little treat, and that's it. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be very simple, and everyone will enjoy themselves so much. It is all about making other people feel special, feel happy, feel that there is real meaning in life, and getting something on the calendar and having a goal and planning ahead. That in itself brings great joy. You know, I remember my grandmother. She was Norwegian. Grandma Fauski. She had come when she was 30 years of age and learned the language. You know, it's amazing how they could do that. And they all had to learn the language. And I always thought, how did they learn it? And I think reading the newspaper and the children going to school and learning and talking. But, you know, she always said the best part of a trip is packing and getting ready for it, thinking about it. Because when she went back to Norway, she packed her trunks because she went on the boat. And, you know, she had always talked about Norway and going back. And when my grandfather passed away, she decided to move back and see what it was like. Well, that only lasted about a year or two at the most. I don't think it was even 2 years. And she said, oh no, I want to come back to America. I love America. And she told me she loved Norway, but when she got back to America, she came in the New York Harbor, and there's the Statue of Liberty. And she said, when I got into America, I got down on the ground and kissed it. That's what she told me. She realized how wonderful this country was and how free it was. Even though Norway is a gorgeous country and a very good country, but it was just different. The opportunities were not there, at least at that time, that were here. And people were able to come here, work hard, get ahead, get a house, get a home, build it up, make it. Their children could be educated. It was like all things are possible. That's what America really is. And it really comes from the biblical idea that when Jesus said, all things are possible, and his whole implication and teaching was, the ground is level at the cross. In other words, in God's eyes, when he views us, it doesn't matter if you're a king or a priest or a pauper or a peasant or a child or an adult. God sees us all the same. That is fairness. It says man looks on the outward appearance. That's the title and what you are bearing. But God looks on the heart. And that was what was in the idea of our founding fathers. We just celebrated Flag Day. And we'll talk more about it on the 4th of July. That is the root of America. It comes right from the Sermon on the Mount, comes right from actually, it goes back to the children of Israel, getting free from bondage and slavery in Egypt under Pharaoh and getting to the Promised Land, where they set up a form of self-governing. That's where the idea came from, self-governing. No other nation ever had this. It was always either a king, a despot, a ruler, whoever was the most powerful would rule over everyone else. But God said, I'm going to be your king and you will self-govern. And that's where the whole idea, our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence goes right back to the laws of Moses and Deuteronomy. Yes, we'll talk more about it. We have beautiful roots. We need to remember them and be grateful for them. Well, I have enjoyed being with you so much today. I hope you have enjoyed the tea table. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please push the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll be notified of future tea talks. And then, if you like it, push the like button and please share it with someone who you think would enjoy the tea table. Well, God bless you. Thank you so much. And I will look forward to seeing you next time. And I will look forward to reading your beautiful comments. I appreciate them so much. Thank you, and God bless. Okay.